Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. Recently I received a key for the upcoming game called Curse of the Dead Gods. It's a skill-based roguelike action adventure with interesting mechanics. Even though this game is still in alpha version, the gameplay felt really polished and I didn't have any technical problems, which is always a good sign. The first thing that caught my attention is the art style. It's definitely on the cartoony side, but the overall theme of the game is dark and it reminds me a lot of Darkest Dungeon when it comes to visuals in general. However, it's not going for that over-the-top dark and horror vibe. The most important thing when it comes to this, it's definitely pretty to look at, but you be the judge. As for the gameplay, you will go through what it seems like infinite rooms and kill whoever is on your path. But as you might expect, there's a lot more going on, so let's dive straight to the mechanics. Each time you start a new run, the game will randomly generate your map and all the available paths that you can take. There are different types of rooms and each of them will offer you something useful after you successfully clean them from monsters. You can get new weapons, improve your stats and get more gold or utility items. There's also question mark rooms where you don't exactly know what you're gonna get. I mostly found a lot of traps in these levels, but interesting upgrades as well. There are more room types that I didn't get to experience and I'm guessing even more will be added in the final version of the game. Once the game generates your whole map, you will have branching paths and if you wish you can plan out your whole path. The first big obstacle is the champion room, where you're going to face your first boss. It's quite a difficulty spike and if you didn't upgrade your character or if you lost a lot of health, you will have problems. Speaking about upgrading your character, you'll have two ways of doing it. The first option is to offer gold that you collected, or you can offer blood. Offering blood is connected to the main mechanic of the Curse of the Gods, and now would be a good time to talk about that. Your character can be affected by different curses, which will give you certain penalties, but benefits as well. It depends on the curse itself. For example, Obscure Swiftness Curse will improve your dodging skill, but you can trigger the perfect roll to recover stamina. But there are just straightforward penalties like Last Recording Curse, which makes you hallucinate every time you take damage. The thing is, you never know which curse you're going to get. There's a corruption meter which keeps track of your corruption. Once it reaches 100 corruption, you will get a new curse the next time you enter a room. Like I mentioned before, you can offer blood and increase the stats of your character, get new weapons or utility items. But this is the fastest way of increasing your corruption. Getting a couple of curses is usually not that bad, but when you start getting more, it could get really annoying. Especially when you progress further and when you lose health. Because remember, this is a roguelike game and once you die, you're back to the beginning. But even if you never offer your gold for items and skills, every time you enter a new room, you will gain a small amount of corruption. So you can never really avoid the curses entirely. It was really interesting to experiment a lot with this mechanic and the final version of the game will feature a lot more curses. When it comes to combat, the controls are responsive and fluid. You start off with a regular sword and a pistol, so you can mix up your ranged and melee attacks right from the start. Dodging attacks will be really important and you'll use this stamina-like resource which you can see below your character. So you have limited amounts of dodges, but you just have to wait a bit and it will regenerate by itself. However, this bar is not only used for dodging. Once you get more powerful weapons, each attack will use the same resource. But you'll usually have at least one weapon, like your sword that you start with, which you can spam pretty much. But the game is not easy at all, you'll need to watch what attack you're using and your timing needs to be on point if you don't want to get hit. Healing is not easy in this game, so you should focus on not losing your health over a stupid mistake. There are some rooms which can heal you and lower your corruption, but don't think you'll find them that easy. I think that not being able to heal that easy is a really interesting design decision because it affects the difficulty in a smart way. Going through a couple of starting rooms is not that challenging, but if you get hit even once, you'll probably regret that later, when every point of your health is important. This might be the case with most roguelike games, I don't play a lot of them so I wouldn't know. Curse of the Dead Gods should release before the end of 2020, but before that it will go in early access. The expected date for early access is the beginning of the next year. I had a lot of fun playing this early version and like I said, the gameplay in general feels really polished. But there is a lot of potential for adding more depth on top of these existing mechanics. Definitely an interesting game, especially if you're into roguelike action adventures. And that would be all for this preview. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, do me a favor and press the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing for more content, and if you don't want to miss any future uploads, click on the bell icon. My channel is based around RPGs, I do in-depth guides, news, discussions and reviews. Special thanks to my patrons and YouTube exclusive members, and if you as well want to become one of them, all the links are in the description. Patreon is definitely the best place if you want to support what I'm doing here. And I'll see you in the next one.